The Merchant of Venice Act 1 Scene 2. Let's know something about the author. William Shakespeare was an English playwright and actor who is widely regarded as the greatest writer in English language. His works consists of 39 plays, 3 long narrative poems and a few other verses of staggering 154 sonnets. He was born at Stratford-upon-Avon and died on April 23, 1616 at the age of 52 and was known as the Bard of Avon. These are some writings of William Shakespeare. This is Portia, a protagonist of William Shakespeare's In The Merchant of Venice. She is a rich, beautiful and intelligent heiress of Belmont. She didn't have the choice of choosing her husband. She was bound by her dead father's will, which said that the lottery of 3 caskets, and whosoever will choose the right casket shall marry Portia. And this is Nerissa. She is the lady-in-waiting of Portia. She is a merry lady with a sharp tongue and true sense of humor. Suitors all over the world come to woo Portia and gamble with the caskets in order to marry her. Nerissa asks Portia that which one of them she liked. Portia replies that she should take the names of each and every suitor present, and Portia would describe each of them, and on the basis of her description Nerissa should conclude which one Portia liked the most. First is the Neapolitan prince, who is the Prince of Naples, Italy. Portia says that he is an inexperienced young man like a colt. He did nothing but talked about his horse. He thinks that it is a great accomplishment that he could shoe his horse all by himself. Next comes the County Palatine. Portia says that he did nothing but frowned. He was ready to give up Portia and said that if she didn't like her she could always marry someone else. He listened to merry tales and hardly ever smiled. Portia was quite afraid that in future he would turn into a weeping philosopher, as he was unusually gloomy at that particular age. Next was the French Lord Monsieur. Portia called him a man, just because God created him as a man. She says that the French lord defeated County Palatine in the bad habit of frowning. He talked about his horse more than the Neapolitan prince. Portia continues to say that he had characteristic of every other person but didn't have any personality of himself. Portia says that to marry him would be like marrying 20 husbands. Next was the young Baron of England, Falconbridge. Portia had nothing to say about him, as it wasn't meant to. Neither of them understood each other. Falconbridge didn't know either French, Latin or Italian. He only knew English, and Portia was weak in English. Portia goes ahead and says that he was a proper man's picture, but how could marry someone who could not converse with her? He was oddly suited with his pair of clothes from various countries. After that was the Scottish lord. Portia sarcastically calls him a kind man. She says him as an Englishman and had punched him as charity. And that kind man had promised the Englishman that one day he would surely return it. Last but not the least was the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. And that he was very bad, as he wasn't drunk. In the afternoon when he was drunk he was horrible. In the morning when he was the best, he was worse than a normal man. At his worst he was little better than a beast. Portia requests Nerissa to place a bottle of Rhenish wine on the wrong casket, as the temptation will make him choose the wrong one. The suitors decide to not gamble with the caskets and get ready for their departure. Portia is glad that none of them took the risk of gambling with the caskets, as they didn't want to be unmarried for the entire life, regretting to choose the wrong casket. Portia says that as she lived as long as the prophet's Sibyl she would still die chaste and unmarried like the hunting goddess Diana, unless she was married by the manner of her father's will. Nerissa reminds Portia of Bassanio, who was actually meant to be deserving a fair lady like Portia. A servant arrives and tells that the 4 suitors were waiting for their departure. In real there were 6 suitors, but these can be the possible reasons why the servant tells 4 suitors. Number 1. Shakespeare probably forgot that there were 6 suitors, or the servant regards 2 suitors with such contempt that they are not worth mentioning. No sooner does Portia express his relief than the Prince of Morocco arrives. Portia says that she couldn't marry such a suitor with such a dark shade. She says that even if he had the personality of a saint, she would rather make him listen to her sins and grant her forgiveness instead of marrying him due to his dark complexion.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.